my computer has notepads, but I don't know if I want to risk it right now in terms of coming back and forth on the screen here and taking notes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You can write notes, John. I'll try to write notes too, and I just turned recording on to help us out if that works.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just call this meeting to order here, and I think everybody who called in on the present page, or I put present. So I sent a meeting yesterday. Carrie and I have done some work to try to get you guys information on who has applied to do the coordinating services, and I can pull up the proposals one at a time, and then information on hotels. So what would you guys like to talk about first? So what we'll do is just talk about what's came in as far as information. And then if this group wants to make a recommendation to the DD Council, we'll take that back for contract purposes. But so this group won't be like the voting on the funding, if that makes sense. We'll vote to make a recommendation to the executive committee.
Can I ask one question before we jump into that, Julie?
With
the providers that have quoted, is that going to change if we would decide to do it in Fargo? Because I seen you'd gotten some quotes from Fargo too for hotels.
Oh, right.
Is the consulting services,
is that better like
information going to change if that would be the recommendation?
No, well, I don't know if Brenda can go to Fargo. We can ask that, but the other company is from Fargo and Deidre can go to Fargo. So those won't change, but I would have to double check with Brenda Bridal Butler on that. For hers. Hers was just more of an hourly rate. So I would just have to check if travel would be included.
I had a really hard time with that one. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, an hourly rate could be huge.
I would like to keep it in Bismarck.
Yeah, because I mean, traveling to Fargo for some of us is really difficult.
Yeah.
Well, I know this may sound strange, but I really feel like that. I mean, there are people that probably want to be involved even in Fargo that travel to Bismarck would be difficult. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something that may have to be. Everybody's situation is different, so maybe it would be a good idea to kind of maybe start looking into options and travel and stuff like that. Start investing into and even going above and beyond that. Even
Yeah, I think that was mentioned at the last meeting. So we just did get quotes from hotels, a couple in Fargo.
Yeah.
And then the Bismarck hotels that were requested. I pulled up my screen if you can see it here. The Radisson Blue in Fargo was pretty expensive, $4,000 a day.
Holy cow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, facility fee of $750 plus at least one lunch to be an approximate of $4,000 a day for that hotel. The Delta Fargo had no availability in September at all, and the Sheraton Four Points only had that Labor Day weekend, which is the same as the Ramkota and Bismarck, and we don't probably want to have a conference over a holiday weekend. Nobody would come.
No.
So what is in Bismarck is the Ramada and the Radisson. Ramada's wide open, and then the Radisson had those September 18th through 20th dates open as well.
So
Julie, could you remind me which one is the Ramada and which one is the Radisson? The Radisson's where we just were, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yep. And then the Ramada is off the interstate. We met there a year or two ago.
Okay.
It was like one of your first venues for the all group.
Somebody's phone is going off. Whose is it?
It's not me. I double checked.
It's an alarm.
It's an alarm of some sort.
Okay, up. I found it. It's right here.
So my only concern is Bismarck would be the halfway point for Cheryl.
Shoot, okay, hold on. How do we get back? Just lost them. There we go.
I mean, Williston is 4 hours away from here.
I mean, we could travel, but other people that I know, Trevor, hard time,
Yeah.
So we got to think about people, Trevor, stuff like that.
So for transportation, we do have contracts of cabs and the taxi service here in Bismarck that can pick people up around the state. And they could bring them to Bismarck or bring them to Fargo. So we can help transportation really to either place. It just might be more of a cost factor if the Radisson Blue is $4,000 a day.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
Another part of this that I think is important is that the entire Yes Group is based in the Bismarck area. And I know all is statewide, but it would just make more sense to be in Bismarck where most of the people are.
I find it odd that most of the people would even be in Bismarck and not around the state, y'all, based on what was. I don't know. Because I know I remember from recent experience trying to expand, yes, but it's hard without a certain commitment or a type of connection network to where people will be willing to take up yes in other places and stuff like that. Not, I don't feel like yes is. It doesn't always seem that yes is familiar, is a acknowledged in other places as it is in Bismarck and stuff like that. That's the hard part.
And this is Connie. Well, I agree with everything that's being said. Just looking at the quotes that have been found, I'm not going to come over a holiday weekend. I don't think anybody else is.
Yeah.
And the only other Fargo one, that was prohibitive. So I'm looking at the cost, not necessarily the transportation, because I agree with John. There's going to be transportation issues for everybody going anywhere. Somebody that needs a wheelchair, because we do pull people in, not through Yes, but through all group from across the state in wheelchairs. But in looking at the prohibitiveness of the cost, I think we need to stick with Bismarck with what we've got quoted.
That was yeah. Yep. I mean, because then you add the cost of travel and the cost of a hotel. I mean, $4,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I can share my screen again here so you guys can see. Go ahead, Roxanne.
Somebody else was speaking. I don't know who it was. Okay, I just was going to try to recall everybody's memories about Toby's comments about accessible parking at the Radisson. But we have more accessible rooms at the Radisson than anywhere else, right?
Yeah, that was the one place that had the most accessible was the Radisson.
And she had raised the, I don't know if Toby's on or not, I'm not looking, raised the issue about accessible parking at the Radisson.
So it stinks to do it this way, but I mean, could whoever brings people just drop them off at the door and then go park somewhere else, and then when it's over, pull up to the door and pick people? I mean, it stinks to have to do it that way, but if there's more accessible rooms available there, then it would make more sense to go there.
You can't do that with a child very easily, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. The Radisson has the parking garage, which probably isn't that great for accessibility. They do, when we just had that all meeting there, they did give you a slip so you didn't have to pay for the parking time. However, I don't know how many spots they have that are accessible and if that would fit a van or not. I'm not sure. Has anybody tried that?
It depends on how big the van is. Like, I think it's hard to get full-size vans in there, but I've parked in there before.
I did try and pay attention, Julie, when I pulled in. There's only one row of accessible parking, and it looked to me like only maybe one would be van accessible where if you had to bring a lift down. The rest to me looked like they were for cars, and I would say there was probably 6 or 7
On the main floor there, right,
on
Connie?
the floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brittany, I see, has her hand up. Brittany, you want to talk? I see you have your hand up, so.
Thanks, Carrie. Sorry, I thought you called on somebody else first, and I had a kiddo not fussing. I was gonna say I tried to look too when we were at the Radisson, and I know that I thought I saw accessible spots on every level, but they were slim, odd spots to begin with. But I want to put it out there that if you're contracting to use them as a source or as a site, that's you can negotiate other pieces too. So I mean, if we don't think that there's an adequate number of spaces or other things, ask them if they've ever considered blocking off certain areas on certain level that has the most accessible door, the weight of it, if there's an opener, if there's not, or which ones somebody feels are easier to get through to the elevator. I don't know. I mean, if that's something, if it's a site that the majority of people are interested in for the rooms and the other features, then explore our possibilities of negotiating to make it the most accessible for what we need it for.
This is Connie. I don't believe we can do that because they don't own the parking garage. They give us coupons, but the parking garage is not owned by them. I don't know who owns it.
The city owns it.
Let's see, yeah.
Maybe we can work with the city on that. That's a good idea, maybe to see if we can reserve more so we can have the most that for that 2 days.
I mean, we might have to pay a little extra, but it might be worth it.
But here's the kicker, though. If we paid a little extra, I mean, we'd be paying a little extra for the hotels in Fargo. So I almost feel like we were against at first paying a little extra, but I'm not sure. But I know that, but that makes sense. So, but I feel like with the city, I mean, I don't know how that's gonna go. But I just want to throw that out there, y'all.
They won't be able to block off the accessible parking, even if it was their parking garage. They have to have a minimum number of spots to be ADA compliant based on the number of spots available. But that doesn't mean that they can't block off or the city give permission to block off other spots that are in similar locations with, accessibility, whatever that we could be divvied out, much like the reservations are talked about having those rooms blocked off so that they can be divvied out by the council and the, a list of attendees versus just randomly assigned.
Worth an ask for sure.
Yeah. Do we want?
I do think that having access to more accessible hotel rooms basically trumps
The parking?
it's a hard one, but
Okay, but here's the thing. Like Cheryl, when you're here in town, do you get a hotel room with a walk-in shower?
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It all depending, how busy they are, so. But like I told you, if I don't have one, that's okay with me, because I could do.
Yeah, we make it work.
Yeah. And sometimes, I know we shouldn't have to, but sometimes that should be on our part too, because we need to give and take,
you just make it work whenever.
Yeah. And it's just like the parking lot. When me and C came on Tuesday night, we had to park on the second. Because there were no parking lot because other people. And so we just did it. So when there was a parking lot free, then he moved the car. So for me, you just have to give and take a little,
Yeah, it's a
to
give and
make
take
it work.
situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, we can make hotel rooms work just like we can make parking work if we really need. I mean, it'd be nice to not have to make parking work, but
another thing about the Radisson.
Like Connie
I have
said,
this is
we cannot ask them to say no. This for all, we cannot do that for that hotel either. Cause then
and I mean, it's worth an ask, and what's the worst they can say? No.
Yeah.
The other concern I have was the food that we had. When we just had our all meeting, the fact that we were given expired chips. I was not impressed with their food and the price of it.
But the cool thing is, like, I mean, I know everybody agree with Bismarck, but you never know. Like, you can almost go anywhere depending on where it is, of course. And I'm sure anything's possible, but there's always some places everybody would be willing to go. But who knows? I mean, options may be wide open. You never know what possibilities and places we can go. Even that might be more, that might be better quality food and so on. Y'all, so I throw that out there. You never know.
Yeah, that was kind of a letdown with the food last time. The portions were pretty small and the expense was pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with the food either. I didn't think we were getting like good food either, y'all.
Do you remember when you guys used to have meetings at the Ramada? Did you like that better?
I have to be honest, I don't remember.
I've never been at the Ramada and had the food there with you guys.
That when we had the roast beef, Julie.
That I think was sorry, they're all the same name almost. I think that was at the Ramkota last Christmas. That was by the mall. So the Ramada was, Cheryl, that's the place with the really heavy bathroom door.
Okay.
That one, yes.
They did have a pretty good food. Cause I remember we had a roast beef dinner.
And can you pull up the screen again, Julie? Is the Ramada the one that's open all of September, or is that the rest?
Yes, it is.
Roxy.
Correct. They're right now wide open. I'm getting it up for you.
Yeah.
What's the
They hadn't had costs broke down at this time. So we'd have to get that closer to the new year with new prices.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if, I mean, to me it looks like the Radisson and the Ramada are the better options. But parking and price is, or more or less price is the, I'm just wondering what the price difference is.
I remember about a lot of room. There's no elevator for the second floor. So I'm not real sure how many rooms are on the bottom floor because
there's only
whoever
4
would go in,
accessible rooms within the Ramada.
right.
Oh boy.
But if we're also looking at costs, if we look at the Radisson cost, just for the rooms, they're talking $3,400 a day, up to $4,750 a day, and that's without meals.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Below
food.
that, if we order food, they will not charge for any of those meeting rooms. Sorry, should have clarified that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed that.
Nope, sorry. So if we don't order food, that's the charges, but if you order food, they would do the rooms for free.
Okay.
So I mean, there again.
How many accessible rooms does the Radisson have?
I have no idea.
9.
I thought they had 8.
And how many at the Ramada?
4.
4. Okay, and I just want to tell you my experience with the accessible rooms at the Radisson. I think the rooms there are pretty small. although I think it's a nicer place than the Ramada. The Ramada is so old, unless they've done updating. But I know
Ramada
that when
hasn't
we've
had
had,
much updating. I went there a couple years ago for a mini meeting, and it's gotten really run down.
yeah, that was my experience
I
there.
thought
But
they were
my experience
updating
at
that.
the
Last
Radisson
time
is
I
their
stayed
rooms
there, they
are
were
full.
working on rooms.
I haven't stayed there in a while.
Last time
I
I
know-
was there, they were working on upgrading and updating rooms. Because there was
Maybe it's
construction
like
crews
worth
all over.
touring, taking a look at what the rooms are like.
Yeah, can we go in there and look? Okay, so here's my question. Can somebody who lives here, like me and Colin, go in there and see if moving around in the room is a possibility before we make this decision?
Yeah, of course. We could get a group together to try it out.
Because honestly, in my experiences with hotels, they slap a bar on the wall and they consider it handicap.
Yeah, they do.
So,
I too.
They do.
so the real test would be to get a wheelchair in there and try and move around.
And how does the Ram Cota compare with their accessible rooms?
I have no idea. I haven't stayed there in a while either.
Saran Quota only had the availability over Labor Day weekend, so I think were you guys kind of
we don't
leaning
want
towards
that.
a no there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that I don't even know, does the Comfort still call itself the Comfort? But
Well, and we haven't looked into that, but I can
well,
call
I
and
know
find
it's not
look
the
into
most,
them.
yeah, it's not the most up to date either, and I didn't know what they have, number of rooms that they have that are truly accessible. But I was just thinking that they have their sister hotel next door that I thought they were connected, and so that if they had space, and it would be double the
They
room.
don't have the meeting space we need.
Okay.
The Quality Inn.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
They don't have the meeting space.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
those
if there
are
was
about
more that I was
3
missing
different
somewhere.
hotels right next to each other, but they're not connected. You have to go out of the buildings to them. That's where we do a lot of training.
This is Connie again, and I just looked up their ratings. So the Radisson is rated as a 3.5. The Ramada is a 3.6. So in that way, as far as their ratings, they're very similar as to what people are saying about them. I didn't go into comments. I just looked up the star rating.
Yeah, there isn't much difference there.
The other question is, do either of the hotels provide a continental breakfast, or is that something we have to pay extra for?
I've been to a hotel. I've been to quite a few hotels already. I mean, I remember over the summer, I went to Bismarck to hang out with some connections and so on. I stayed at Days Inn, and from what I've seen, a lot of these continental breakfasts, they're not that great. I mean, they just provide bare bones, processed junk and things like that. Like it's not that great. It's not home cooked, or it's not homemade, or delicious.
But is it like muffins and stuff like that, John?
Well, neither of those hotels provide continental.
Well, they do have things like cereal out of a deal and milk and juice, and they do have muffins, but a lot of times those things aren't that good. I remember I don't think they're always that good. Like you don't get you get things like basically packaged foods and sort of things, like things you just take and grab and go. They don't provide a lot of a lot of places don't provide a lot of home cooked stuff and things like that. From my personal experience, I know this is my experience at the Days Inn when I went there over the summer. I don't know if many hotels are any different or any better though.
So
right. Hold on, Carol's got her hand up. Maybe we do hands. We got a lot of people in here.
Okay.
Well, you connect, Carol. Ramada does have free breakfast. Ram Cota does not.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say, is because I remember when we went, they did have the continental breakfast at the Ramada. It wasn't too bad. They did you could do a waffle. They had some kind of eggs and some kind of meat, and then they had the cereal, hot cereal, cold cereal, and then like a some kind, they always had chicken bagels, and so I know that that's the last time we were there. They still had that.
Chaz?
I'm doing.
Could we check into the hotel in Mandan? I can't think of the name.
The
The one
Baymont?
that the Bisband Tower of 100 was?
The Baymont?
No, we
No.
have not. That could be another option.
All right,
to
I'll look
at.
into that.
I think accessibility is a concern there, but
Do they only
Okay.
have the one big room? I don't know if they'd have enough breakout
right.
spaces.
Well, those breakouts then
Well,
are,
they've got
and there's an
they've
elevator,
got
but those
rooms
breakouts are
upstairs
super
too.
tight. We can hardly get a wheelchair into those two breakouts on the second floor.
Okay.
And getting into the breakouts on the first floor was difficult too. Like one of us had to be way in the front and the other one had to be way in the back. So, I mean, it's worth a check, but
Well, if you couldn't get wheelchairs in those breakout rooms, it sounds like it might not be.
yeah.
Okay.
Brittany, your hand's up.
Yeah, I agree that everything's worth a check. However, in Carrie and I discussed when we had Temple Grandin come, the cost of transit to get out there, if you can even get a ride. There's not a bus stop, for instance, for those who aren't having the council help arrange for transportation. It would really limit, those who need the public transit options. And the parking lot, it barely parks probably their employees, much less additional attendees, which would lead to street parking and all that.
The other issue we are running into is transit willing to come and get you. So, I mean, hopefully with an ample amount of notice we can figure that part out, but they're in a bit of a rebuilding stage, maybe I would say right now.
So at this point, would you like a group of people to get together and go to the Radisson and go to the Ramada and test out the rooms and come back again to this group and let people know? Is that your thoughts?
I mean, I'd be willing to.
I do like that idea. This is Connie's talking.
Yeah,
Is
this
Trevor-
is Chaz.
is
I can
Trevor
come to
on?
Bismarck and be part of that group.
Is Trevor on right now? Because I would assume
don't
we
see
can
him.
get. I can assume we can get Trevor. I would assume we can get Trevor to do that also. I would be willing to, and if Colin isn't stuck in bed, then I would assume he's willing to.
I don't think I'll be stuck in bed after next week.
I hope not.
So this is Brittany. I had a quick question and comment. I know that there were lots of concerns, complaints, even if, valid feedback with the Civic Center, and I agree with, I think all of it. Thinking outside the box, since we're hitting walls with so many other areas in town too, strong arming, being very much more, specific about what is needed and which locations we would prefer for, the rooms and whatnot. Are there facilities that with the right agreement could meet the needs during the day? And then somehow we look at contracting with an assisted living facility or another facility or a DD provider that has an accessible church van size van or something of that nature that can do efficient and timely transport back and forth from a hotel location.
My
together.
only concern there would be the lack of available staffing at this time.
Staffing? What?
the lack of available staffing to transport back
Yep.
and forth at this time.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
can contract with Bismarck Transportation Services and Taxi 9000. Bismarck Transportation Services does have an accessible van. Taxi 9000 does not, so they could provide the rides if you guys think that's feasible with staffing.
I was thinking about being able to transport, multiple individuals versus a van that may only have a couple lockdown spots or other needs, or even just transportation in general. You have to have a qualified driver, and of course somebody who's familiar with assisting, loading, if we're depending on the size vehicle we're talking about, or possibly a commercial driver. I just was trying to think of options to where there could be group transit, similar to when there's other large, big city events. Parking is way out here in Timbuktu, and they offer to bus people into the location. I know that doesn't sound the most ideal. That doesn't give freedom to go back and forth to a hotel room. And so that's where I was questioning what exactly is available at the Civic Center that we can say, this is what we would want. If you can provide it, great. If you can't, we move on. But so whether they block off some bathrooms and make it the powder room type attendance area, the freshening up area, it's more than just the bathrooms, but it also, an adjacent room or area. I mean, there's no reason you can't ask for everything you want. And if somewhere has the ability to meet it and they agree to at a price you agree with, great. If not, then we just keep looking.
I think we should have it look at a hotel, because if we had it back where we had it before, that was a little bit too more money. And people would prefer to have it in a hotel so they could take a break and go back to their room if they need to.
And
This is Connie. If somebody takes a
No.
break and goes back to their room, they're not going to come back to the conference if it's not at the same site. That's just my experience.
That's kind of what I
I
was
don't
thinking too.
I just another talking point.
Crystal, your hand's up.
So my question is, when we're looking at, say, the Radisson versus the Ramada, the Ramada has 4 accessible rooms. The Radisson has, you said, 8. Are you looking for those rooms as freshening up rooms, or are you looking at those rooms for people to stay in? Because if we're looking at those types of rooms for people to stay in, and you're trying to have a conference with and bring people from all over the place, wouldn't we want the place that has more accessible rooms?
Yes.
Because I mean, I get like the Ramada you might get a little bit better food and stuff, but if you don't have the accessibility or the accessible rooms, people aren't going to stay there anyways. They're going to be booking at a different hotel because there's an accessible room available.
See, and that's my thought too, is you got to give and take, like more accessible rooms, crappier food. I mean, I think I'd take.
But that's a great idea, Crystal, of setting aside one of those accessible rooms, no matter where we go, as a freshening up room.
Yeah.
When we had talked to,
I really liked
think it
that.
was Radisson right away, just asking questions, they had said they could set aside an executive suite, which is on the main level near the ballroom, the main keynote room, that big room, that they could move like beds out or whatever, and they would donate that for a freshening room versus using an accessible room, because that was our concern too when we talked to them. We wanted a freshening room, but we didn't want to lose a sleeping room. And they said they would donate it. So I think maybe anywhere we would go, if we could ask them for something like that, would you ever provide a room like that for us? If they have some big suite that people could use a lift in or something, that it would of course have to fit everything. But they did say that.
I mean, again, it's worth an ask. Because what are they going to say? No, and then we go somewhere else.
This is Chaz. It sounds like the Radisson is willing to really accommodate us. So,
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
if the Radisson is
If-
willing to already accommodate us, we might as well try to stay there.
Right.
This is Crystal
You
again.
know,
I
unless
think
we
if
find
they're,
something that,
I was just gonna say, if they're willing to accommodate as much as they want, and issues with food has been brought up before, that would just be something that you need to address and say, hey, we had this all conference here, and we had, you know, the food wasn't very, you know, good. We had expired chips. You know, have you made any fixes to that prior, you know, so that we can ensure that we're not going to have that same type of situation for this conference? Like, what have you put in place to rectify that? You know, it's a good question to ask, in the sense that, like, you know, like, we felt portion size was a little bit, you know, less, and if we're paying for this food, we want to make sure that we get enough. So, you know, can you give us an example of what the portion size would look like? Maybe we go in and say, hey, give us a plate of what you would provide for us for this meal, and then we let you know, this is too much, this is too little. You know, if we want a little bit more on the plate, or we want to add to it, how much, what's cost difference?
But the problem with that is, what if certain places like to overcharge us, or discriminate, or in some cases charge more than the average person? I mean, you never know. Like, there's so much like what ifs and stuff like that. Like, why would they provide that bad meal to begin with? This is a real question.
Well, and that's again where we step in and say, this is what happened. Can we change it? And if they say no, then
it also was the all board voted on picking that meal, so maybe we all just also keep in our minds that the chicken fettuccine is not good.
Yeah.
You know, like, make a mental list that was not a fan favorite, and please no expired chips.
Yeah.
Carol?
Yeah, I mean, we have to advocate for what we want too, and Carol's got her hand raised.
Yeah, one of mine about the meals were, I was not impressed on how cold they were. I mean, we were right next to the kitchen, and that food was brought into us, and it was barely warm. I mean, you could have fed that to a child. It was not even hot. And I even, you know, I know Connie and I talked about that food should have been hot coming out, you know.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't hot.
You could do like a voting thing on certain foods and stuff like that. What's everybody's food, and kind of come to a conclusion on a particular type of food, or even specialize certain food to meet everybody's needs. I think that's the best option. But I don't know, just an idea.
Well, and that's, I mean, if we're gonna be serving 200 to 300 people, we can't. I mean, we gotta know that we can't please everybody. But yeah, I agree. The food was not warm.
We had a conference there in February. Food was really decent. Snacks were great.
So maybe it was just the day.
It could have been the day. Could be that they've deteriorated since then, but that was about 150 people, 100 people, 120, something like that.
And you're right,
Yeah,
John. We'll make sure people. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Chaz.
Yeah, it could have just been the people that were serving that day weren't, you know, quick or something. So, yeah.
Okay, we can come back to this, but I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about the planner, or whatever we want to call it, coordinator. Is that okay? Did you guys get to review those proposals? And then I did ask Elegant Designs for one, and they said they prefer to just do marketing, so wouldn't do a full-on planning of a conference, so they didn't submit one. So we got 3 submitted. I can pull them up on the screen if you guys want, one at a time, or if you just have comments, whatever works.
Can you pull them up, Julie?
Sure.
Yeah, please pull them up. I
Because
didn't get a chance to look at them.
I'm assuming one is Deidre, right?
Yeah, 13th hat. Yeah, that would be Deirdre.
Yeah.
I think it's really difficult to just look at them, I guess, without knowing. I was having trouble knowing if I was comparing apples to apples.
Me too. And I talked with all of them about what we were wanting and the facilitation and the planning. And this is what came back. So I felt the same, like it's kind of not real specific, or it's hard to know. I agree. So maybe it could be something where if you guys want to invite someone to come speak with us one-on-one so we understand more, or something to that effect. But I felt the same, Roxanne.
I was just gonna say, could we do a little interview with each one of them and but it's,
Yeah.
I guess your group is the one that makes the final decision, so you guys would be the ones to do that, I guess, not us.
Can
Well,
I
but
say, can I say something? I like the poster, but we should really figure out who we want because it's December 14th. Last year when we had a planner, we were a little bit farther.
We were a little bit farther ahead by this point.
Planning, and now it's a. I understand why they want to have free composer, but I'd rather have the person that we worked with last year compared this year.
I would agree.
You know.
Yeah, I kind of said that to Julie last week when we were at Power of 100. Knowing Deidre, I mean, she's a little bit more expensive, but knowing Deidre and how well she did, I would lean towards Deidre myself.
I just want to clarify, sorry, this is called the vendor applications, so not coordinator, vendor,
Oh,
just for point of clarification on the agenda.
I think there was a good point made a few minutes ago that at the apples to oranges or apples to avocados, even because of the variable differences between the different proposals. At this point, I mean, everyone that's spoken out today that I've heard and from the last meeting have, feedback from previous conferences, ideas of what you guys are looking for to meet your needs, guesstimated numbers we can do from just knowing the conferences in the past. So even down to the point of negotiating this with the hotels and the locations, a lot of these proposals include that service. So one, if that's all done before somebody's hired, it would expect them to, reduce the cost because they're not doing that, or lay out exactly what is wanted and see which ones can meet it with the price that, for the services that we're looking for. If we want them to handle A, B, C, and F, then we want them to handle A, B, C, and F. If we want them to handle A through Z, then we need to say that. But these are very broad descriptions of the service that they could provide for conference planning or planning of any event. So, I mean, if those are pieces and parts that I think are something to consider.
This is Connie, and I'm going to recluse myself from this part just simply because I know Deidre. She grew up down the street from me, and so obviously that would be my choice. So I'm going to recluse myself as being not being able to be impartial.
Brittany's right. So if we decide, let's say, for example, you guys say we like the Ramkota and we like so-and-so for the vendor to plan. And then that person can get hired, or that company, whatever. And then say the group likes this state, this place, and they can take that on and obviously move it along after that. And yeah, there can definitely be contract negotiations with that by just syncing them up, and then they can kind of take it forward too.
Okay.
But I think you guys wanted the pre-prep of where you wanted to go and all of that, so that vendor would move that along versus they find a location and book it and say this is the cheapest location, but that might not work for the needs of this group.
Right. I mean, it's nice to have a planner, but it's also, I think we still need some say in how it's being planned and stuff.
And
Yeah.
would Deidre, she
But
was
Deidre-
good about that.
I was gonna
She
say,
always
Deidre
came
did that.
back to us. So, she was good. She was good at working with us.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely
Yeah.
had plenty of meetings in between, and
Yeah,
she kept us in the loop.
yeah.
And there was
Um,
always a little bit, there was always like I was always in contact with her as far as like like speakers, and like if one of us has an idea, all you have to do is shoot her a text. And I mean, she's always been very open as far as keeping us in, like you said, Cheryl, keeping us in the loop and taking our ideas in stride and doing what she can to make that come to head. But
To have a better comparison of apples to apples, would you like to have another meeting and invite these planners to meet with us and ask questions about how they would work with this group, or how would they negotiate the contract, or what would they provide? Would that be better so you can better compare the three?
I mean, I think it's better.
we
I
could
think
do
it's better-
that.
Yeah, I think it's better to meet with them one-on-one, or I mean, all together as a group and stuff like that. Kind of plan things ahead of time before, instead of waiting for the real moment to get here. Because then everybody is not on the same page, and then the least expected of the least expected happens. It's like, oh, but so it's just about being organized and being ready. I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
so then my question, if we do that, how soon can we do that? Because I agree with Cheryl. I mean, at this point last year, we were already knee deep into the conference planning part. So how soon do you think we'd be able to meet with the three of them?
Yeah, I do agree we need to do it fairly quickly.
And with Christmas and New Year just around the corner, I don't think we can meet with them, to be honest. So, I mean, are we willing to are we willing to go 2 steps forward now, or 3 steps back and put us into probably in middle of January to really get started?
Well, I think, again, you guys are mentioning lots of things that are important. But in some, I keep watching the names pop up, so I'm not 100% who said everything, but you have very specific things that you're wanting to see at the conference. You have a level of involvement that you're looking for. You're having, all of that. So making a bullet point list, especially if you want to have somebody come talk, formally or not, would help narrow it down. I don't imagine that any of them coming to, without further guidance, that they would come and present on anything other than what they've already kind of given. And they may not, whoever it is coming, be able to adjust the numbers and their guesstimated amount that they would charge on the spot. And then that would lead to another meeting or wait for another paper to come back. So jotting down what's important for the conference that you guys feel that needs to happen, that you want to happen, that you must have happen, what service they have to provide, how much involvement they need to ensure the all group or even just this subcommittee has, all of those things, so that they can get a good understanding of what they would provide.
We could take that list if you guys have thoughts and ask them to respond back to the group and try to get that back quickly too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I mean, we've been happy with Deidre.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't have been happier with her. I mean, The turnout,
Right,
Chad,
do
you
we
weren't
just,
you weren't there in person, but the turnout that day, there's no way we could have done it without her.
Yeah.
But
right. But I just experienced her through the planning process and was happy with the way she involved us and stuff. Like you said, I wasn't there at the conference, so how she did at the conference, I don't know, but you guys all seem to be happy with how she was at the conference, so do we just want to recommend her?
here's my thought. Okay, so yes, it's put on 5 conferences now, and Erin walked in tears. She was like, "There's no way we could have done this ourselves." Like, she that's all she said that day was like how much bigger the conference got just because of Deidre.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a collaborative effort, of course, but I mean, 5 years ago when Yes did their conference, I don't think they expected it to be as big as it was. So, I mean, again, I'm slightly impartial to Deidre just because I know the way she works. I know, and like I said, I don't know exactly how much ballpark she charged us for last year's conference, but she did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did hear that she's a little more expensive than the rest, but she also does a really good job. So.
And if we're gonna spend a decent chunk of money, I would prefer to have somebody that I know is going to do a really good job.
Right, exactly.
And we know if we were all new to this, I would agree that we should look for, interview each one, but we know what we want. And so with Teresa, we could tell her we need to do a little bit better. How can we do better?
Right.
Cause we did this for, last year, so we are not new to this. So I prefer teacher, honestly.
Yeah.
And
Crystal, what?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just going to say, I've just kind of been looking at the different proposals through the email as everyone's been talking. And I mean, even just looking at Deidre's proposal, everything that we've been talking about this entire meeting of, the hotel, the transportation, working with, food and beverage and trying to figure all that stuff out. She has that all included in there as something that she would pioneer and she'd take on. So, I mean, I think if we ended up choosing to go with her, we could bring back and say, hey, this is where we want to do it. These are the issues that we've had. These are our concerns. If we wanted to do the Radisson, can we block off some of that parking? Can you talk to the city? She would probably handle all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would already all be included in her proposal.
Roxanne, you're on mute.
To answer your question,
see
Roxanne,
myself. What's our process here in regards to selecting a contractor? Are we making a recommendation to the council?
Right.
What's going on? What's happening?
Yes.
I think that's what Julie said at the beginning.
Okay.
To answer your question, Roxanne, I don't know how much money we have left in or for the conference funding of 2023. I know that there is some money still available at DCIL that all they say to do is ask for it. I'm not exactly sure on the number on that. But
well, there's a couple.
I mean, I could make a phone call to Royce after this meeting and find out.
That's kind of confusing because the council has a line to support the statewide self-advocacy group. The council also has a line item for the conference. And so I don't know, it doesn't sound like that's been thoroughly discussed as to the source of the funding for some of this. And then second to that, I just want to point out, again, it's very much apples to oranges in some of the proposals. So the proposal receipt dates are very different. And then there's the insider information, which is a benefit that comes from Deidre having done part of the conference this year. The other thing is that Deidre is calling for 12 to 15 volunteers to manage and do a lot of the on-site things that she says that she'll be able to manage versus the others providing staff, and the volunteering be simply those who are, have strong, this subcommittee, the all group, yes group, things like that. So those are pieces and parts that I feel like a way to the council to look at it would need to be able to compare the services being offered and equate that to a number to make that decision to what meets the needs of what you guys are saying. So the needs are the priority. But just all those pieces to look at it.
Carol, go ahead.
So where are we? Are we gonna make the prediction to the council that we would like to have teacher?
I was kind of wondering that same thing.
Yeah, well, have to see. Carol, you were on mute, so we didn't hear you, what you were
Just
saying.
real quick, can you send me a list of everybody that is on this subcommittee?
What I was asking is if this whole group right now decided to go with Deidre, would the council automatically go with our recommendation? Or would they look at prices and say, well, you know what, I really think this one's better. I just wondered how that works. I mean, I haven't worked with any of them. This is my first conference to work with, so I'm all new at this. So I may be asking dumb questions, but I just really wanted to get involved.
No, that's okay, Carol. So the recommendation would go to the council, but like what Brittany was saying, looking at what you guys need, what the recommendations are, perhaps that could come with the funding. The all group has some funding they want to put forward. The yes group, we have to figure that all out, how that's going to compare with the conference that the council's paying for. But they would look at all of the proposals too and the recommendations from you guys to make a decision.
So if this whole committee is recommending Deidre, and I don't know for sure, but I know there's a few of us on here that have stated that we recommend Deidre. Would they take that recommendation into
Consideration, basically.
into consideration, and or would they then still have to vote on the other two? And I mean,
yeah, we will take it into consideration, JC, and have conversations. If it's not voted, bring it back to you guys. And this is kind of the working group on the conference. So just back and forth communication if there's something else they want to see or something like that, but it would kind of flow back and forth.
So are we okay? So let me get this straight. They're all yes. We will combine it working together, right? Cheesy. Now we had a meeting council, right?
mm-hmm.
So now the DD Council have to make what they want, or they should go from the person that we the one that know what we need, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to be clear on that. Cause it just made me feel like we we don't know what we need. And we do know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the feelings that I do not like the feeling that I don't know what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong to say that?
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Janine has her hand
Janine?
up.
My question is just when would the council then make that decision?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we could talk about it at our next executive committee if we can get it on the agenda.
Which is when?
The 20th next week.
But the executive committee wouldn't approve these level contracts. The executive committee would also provide a recommendation back to the full council. So this, I mean, there's a lot of issues with time.
The executive committee could, as we have it right now, approve that contract.
This is Crystal. Last year when you did it, when you hired Deidre, what process did it go through to accept her as a contractor?
We did we just did it through contract purchase of service through the council. And I can't remember how we found her actually now, thinking about it. And went out for 3 bids through procurement, and she came back, and I can't remember. I'd have to look at if we got any others. I want to say I don't think we did at the time. So because the cost was 25,000 or less, you had to get 3 bids and then reviewed them, and we hired her through that.
Okay, so it went through the council last year for approval.
Yes.
That's yeah. Julie, have you talked to the council at all about this? Are they leaning towards one or the other? Do you know?
No, I did not bring it up with them because I wanted you guys to talk about some things first and then recommendations to go back to the council.
This is Renee. I think what I'm hearing is that yes wants Deidre, all wants Deidre. I think we were all very comfortable with her. She's done so much legwork. A lot of this stuff is already done. Like, will we have to do a new logo this year? Probably not. Just she did all that stuff last year. So maybe I think Deidre would just be the best option.
Yeah.
Does anyone have an objection to it?
I mean, you're right. Deidre did a lot of the legwork, and then there was a lot of stuff that I did in the background, but that's simply because of my position I hold on the board, and I offered it. She was
I don't want to take way too much of your guys' time because I know we're already over. So I don't know where you guys are at as far as the vendor stuff, what you want to do, but if we could maybe come to some sort of decision. And then we just have Carrie has one last update on speakers. Then we won't take too much of your time, but maybe let's finish up the vendor first, where you're at.
I think we should go with Deidre. And I understand that problem, but like I said, we know the problem and we can work it out. Me too, there's no guarantee either. So, if we can keep on trying to find the best idea that could solve all the problems, that would be great. That would be ideal work. But in the reality, that you always can have some problem coming up.
Okay, I gotta go to my appointment now, so I'll talk to you guys later, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye, Chad.
Good luck, Chaz.
Okay. I reached out to Matt Shapiro. He did our commencement address for
Hold on,
the.
Carrie. Let's finish this up. So Cheryl
Okay.
said that. Is that the group consensus here? What are you guys feeling to make a recommendation?
I make a recommendation that we just use Deidre. For the, just because we know her and we are getting a later start.
But I mean, that would be my recommendation too.
Before you guys continue, this is Brittany. I need a solid list of who's actually on this subcommittee because it didn't kind of get formed that way. That way we have a number of people and attendance and all that. The minutes, I don't know, I was a few minutes late on. The minutes from last meeting only reflect a handful of people. So we have, in order to, the voting is recommending it back to the council, but I need a solid list of who's has been on these meetings and who is, so that we can have a solid formed subcommittee.
That's sent to you.
I would second Carol's recommendation.
I don't know if we need to. I would agree.
I agree with choosing Deidre.
I just want to clarify something. Is this subcommittee a subcommittee of the council, of the DD council?
Yes, right now I believe it is.
Okay.
And it's all members, yes members, and council members that want to be in the planning or previous conference planning members, like Deneen was on before, wanted to be part of it again. Said everybody?
Renee, Colin,
Yeah.
myself.
Yep. So previous people that worked on the conference last year wanted to be part of it again this year.
Okay. I don't want to complicate things, but I'm a little concerned about the ownership on this. I mean, from the start, the ownership has kind of laid with the self-advocacy groups. And so it's a little complicated. Obviously, I know, because all is really the council's effort on statewide advocacy. So I just want to make sure that at the end of the day that the acknowledgements are inclusive of the groups. And now we're weaving in the Power Up group as well. So didn't want to hamper the conversation about the vendor, because I think you have somehow we've got a motion on the table, I suppose, but we don't have a chair of this committee, so.
Yeah.
Or subcommittee.
It was, yeah. So maybe it's not a motion, a recommendation, I guess, if it's just
Yeah,
committee
Carol
work
made
at
a
this point.
recommendation. I just
Sure.
seconded
Yep.
saying I agree.
Yep. Yeah. So I think if it's a recommendation as a subcommittee, it's not with the Robert's rules with a chair and all of that at this point, unless we get there. But in the past, this group's been the advocates that were planning the event, and that's kind of how it's been. Yep.
And I
So
think it should be. I think it should be that advocate. I mean, I understand it the under the bill, but I understand that we need each other. You need the DT council will all we need to be involved in the self-advocacy movement. But the self-advocacy needs to take the lead on this.
yeah,
You know?
we've been supporting you guys, Cheryl, really.
Yeah. And we support you, and we appreciate you guys a lot.
Well, and I have to say the same thing, Julie. You know, you've supported Yes since the beginning, and it's been wonderful. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to work with you on whatever you need us to do. Also, so
Yeah.
So maybe we call that a recommendation from the group that will fuel back to the council in some fashion. We'll have a discussion and come back to you guys. If we're good with that, then Carrie can finish because she needs help with looking at speakers. So we'll just get through that.
I have been looking for speakers. I managed to reach out to one speaker that I had contact information for, and his name is Matt Shapiro. He's out of Virginia. He did our commencement speech and presentation for Partners in Policymaking this past class, and he did really well. And everyone really liked him. And I've had a talk with him, and he is all good. He wants to be a part of the conference. The only thing he needs is he really needs to know when the conference is going to happen, because he's already getting other dates proposals for September of next year, but he's giving us first priority because he's worked with us. And so I'd hate for us to not be able to get speakers because we don't have an actual date.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, if he's giving first priority, then that I mean, that my concern would be to solidify a date so we can let him know then.
Yeah, he can be on the list. And the other thing is, like, Roxanne and Deneen had to jump off, but I'll get Deneen's email. You guys knew some of the people on our previous list, but Carrie didn't know their contact information. If you guys could help her out.
So Carrie.
Yeah, I'm still on. I can.
So Carrie, this is JC. I did talk to Sadie Paulson's contact person. Mm-hmm. The only reason she wasn't able to do last year's conference was she got sick and would really like to do this year's conference if that's possible.
Yeah, and I would take that under advisement. However, as with the person I talked to, they really need a date.
Yeah, exactly. That's yep.
Can you share that contact, JC, then with Carrie so she can keep a running list?
Yeah.
Carrie, can you put your phone number in the chat?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And then were there others speakers you guys had thought of since we last talked to put on the list for reaching out? We have a long list. It's just more of finding those people. Was there anything else to add?
So Colin, he's muted right now, but Colin has brought up I don't know if anybody has watched the YouTube sensations Skirmy and Grubs. They are relatively expensive. Maybe we could talk them down to a certain price, but they travel here. They would travel here in their van from St. Paul, Minnesota. He has SMA, which is a form of muscular dystrophy, and he's married to an able-bodied. His wife is able-bodied. He's an author. They're hilarious. Colin has brought that up to me a number of times, actually. To be honest with you, but they are kind of expensive. So there again, we run into.
I don't know if it's
money.
just me, but I'm hearing a loud noise in the background, so I couldn't hear everything you said, JC.
Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know what it was.
Could you put that in the chat of that contact for us?
Yes.
And then Crystal.
Yeah. Did you ever reach out to Torben about Harold Vick?
No? Not yet, but on the list.
Okay. I still have his email. But...
Actually, if you would get that to Carrie too, we can get that on the contact sheet. Thank you. Any others? So we can schedule again. I don't know if you guys want to look at calendars, or maybe honestly we try right after Christmas. Just so we don't waste a lot of time, maybe we can have some more information and get that set up for the hotel visits and stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner we can get into the hotels, the better. So just, I mean, whatever day works with me, I just gotta let my mom know so she can drive me there.
We can help too with rides, JC.
Yeah.
And Judy, as soon as the DD Council can make the decision, then I think we could really get into setting up our speakers and everything too.
And when you have a vendor and you guys have speakers identified, that can be all sent and that person really can take it on and go forward with that. But having just a list of who's available or who could come helps kind of the pre-planning part of it. And making sure you're getting to hear from people you want to hear from.
Mm-hmm.
Would a doodle poll be best to send out for everybody to vote on a time, and then we can arrange from there?
That works best for me, I think. Julie, do you have Renee's email address? Because she said that you were sending her invites to the ARC email address, which she doesn't have anymore.
I don't know. I might not. I might need to update that if you can get that to me.
Sounds good.
Okay, Carol?
Anytime is good for me because, I mean, other than other meetings with the all, I'm pretty well situated. So just let me know what's good for everybody else.
Carrie, I will send you the contact information as soon as I can.
Okay.
I will also keep you in the loop if I think of other people.
All right.
And Carrie, just send me who you think I know.
Okay, because I know I emailed you earlier with a list of people, and
oh yeah, sure. Okay, there you go. I'll look. Thanks. Sorry.
You and Deneen said quite a few, so I don't know who said what, but we'll get them back to you so you can help us.
Okay, I know like Janaheen's on there, and okay, I'll look for it. Sorry. I used to be really good at responding to people.
Roxanne, well, who are the people that you've had at your conferences? I know you've listed off a few in the past.
Which conference?
Isn't there like a Designer Jeans conference or a World Down Syndrome Day conference that you usually put on?
No, we don't have one. But I'll do a little brainstorming.
Okay.
Okay.
Because the few you've listed off before I've YouTubed and they would be wonderful, but for the life of me, I cannot remember their names.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll keep looking and hopefully have more speakers or times for you guys later. It was just hard for us to find people. So
yeah. Yep.
Send ideas as you have them, or if you find someone on YouTube or something, keep us updated, and we'll keep looking for that and try to get a good list together.
So there, and I'll send this one too, but there is a YouTube, a couple on YouTube that I watch. It's called Rolling with Cole and Christine. They're an interabled couple also, but he was in a rollover car accident and paralyzed from the neck down. They do a lot of, and I don't know prices. I would have to dig, but I watch a lot of YouTube, so that's a lot of where I get my ideas from. But yeah, I'll keep looking.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for your extra time today. We'll get out a doodle poll soon and have happy holidays.
All right, sounds good. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I can't. Oh, not.